Good evening, Chicago. Very happy this evening to deal with my mentor, Minister Johnnie Banks. Believe me, you're in for a treat this evening. Believe me. But as always, we need to start off with a quotation. The ultimate measure of a man is not in times of comfort and convenience, but where do you stand in minutes of challenge and controversy? Where do you stand? Where do you stand? That comes from Martin Luther King, folks. Now, I want to deal with a couple quick things. You have felons, employers that are friendly with, will hire felons. You got Kraft, CTA, UPS. You also have Budweiser Distributorship, and you have St. Bernard's Hospital. They're dealing with maintenance. So, hey, it's up to you. It's up to you. Last week we gave you a whole list. So if you want a job, hey, get on your horse. Now, the city of Chicago, Board of Education, Chicago City Colleges have a training program for young men and women who are in the 10th grade with a 2.3 grade point average. And listen to this, a 90% attendance rate. See, as Minister Banks will elaborate on that, because how can you work a job if you can't even go to school on time and consistently? Now, Black Thought for this month. Jack Johnson, as you might recall, was a heck of a boxer. But do you know he developed and came up with a wrench? But you might know it as the monkey wrench. Who did that? The powers that be gave it that name because the man was black. Monkey wrench.
Oh, that's interesting.
Little tidbits. But now, without further ado, Minister Banks, thank you for coming.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you.
I want you to elaborate on he's the CEO of his organization called Knock Around Midnight. So proud to have him here. Please, tell us what you do, Minister.
As you just stated, I work with a Knock at Midnight. A Knock at Midnight is located at 400 West 76th Street in Suite 206. We do a lot of work advocating, working with youth, providing services, myriad of services to try to keep them on track in school, but also to work with them after school so that they can have the nourishment they need, they can have the encouragement that they need, and they can have some recreation time as well as assistance with homework and other things that prepares them for that next day. Because we know that our young people just really need some positive things to do and positive places to participate with those things in. And so they do that at Knock at Midnight. We also do parenting, anger management, and domestic violence classes for adults and young adults because there's a myriad of parents who have had contact with the Department of Children and Family Services who those cases were unfounded. There was nothing wrong, but DCFS...
So you said it was allegations against them?
Allegations against them. The allegations were proven not to be true. But data shows and research shows that if a person has contact with DCFS in 2017, by 2020 they might wind up in the system. Because generally those allegations are unfounded because the proof was not evident.
It wasn't sufficient.
But if it stays, those people don't get any services, get some help. In about 3 years, they will then have a case.
What do you mean by that? They will have a case because by that time, they're out of control?
Now, by that time, whatever was really wrong, it becomes evident.
Okay, it manifests
itself. So here, it wasn't evident, so it was unfounded. But as it continues to grow, it becomes evident that the family has a problem, and we missed it here, but we caught it here.
Okay, so in other words, it's in its dormant stage, and then it manifests itself.
It manifests itself. So DCFS is saying, since we know that, we're not just going to let them leave and go away without getting services.
Okay.
So they refer those people
to
Knock at Midnight.
services.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we do.
So you're dealing with DCFS?
Yeah, we do parenting, anger management, and stuff like that with that group, and we do some strengthening families.
Do you deal with foster parenting?
We do. We don't deal with foster parenting from the sense of we're a foster parent agency, but we provide a lot of services to foster parents.
Well, what I meant by that was, a lot of times when a child is taken out of a biological parent's home, now in comes the foster parent. But now, let me put it this way. You take the child in, but that child for lack of better words, is damaged goods.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, you don't know what you have in your house. You know, sometimes you have $5, sometimes it's this and that. So I know that they used to have at Harold Washington a program, a training program to enlighten folks in terms of if you want to be a foster parent, this is what you have to expect. You know, in terms of discipline, in terms of education, in terms of being abused, and, you know, the counseling, the whole bit.
Well, see, many of those young people have emotional
Yes,
and cognitive
right,
issues.
right.
But what they really miss is nurturing and love.
True. I agree.
So the foster parent, many of them who volunteer for this job, are capable of providing that nurturing, providing that care, and helping a large group of these young people who don't need a whole lot of clinical services, and many of them do, who don't have mental health issues, and many of them do. So when you got your children who just need love and nurturing, they thrive in the foster care setting. And those who are not thriving as we think they should, they probably need a deeper level of services that foster parents are not capable of providing.
Right, and that goes into counseling and you know,
Right.
collectively and individually.
Yeah.
So let me ask this question, because we're both in the education business.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you see CPS going at this point? You know, the funds are not there. Can you elaborate on that?
Well, see, when we're dealing with education is basically the acquiring of a tool called the mind.
That's right.
This mind is developed so it can solve two problems, a personal problem and a social problem. That's all this mind is supposed to do, is solve a personal and a social problem. We do that through engaging our children in an educational institution called school. Okay, now, there's a prerequisite for a child to go to school. And I hope the viewing audience catch this, because it's so simple, most people miss it. A child comes into the world a nonverbal paraplegic, not capable of doing anything with his hands or his feet,
Right, right.
and it learns how to cry out.
Right.
And the parents then respond to the child's crying out for help.
So this, in other words, the child and crying impacts his environment in terms of getting...
And then that brings in some help.
Okay.
It takes the child a year and a half to almost 2 years to learn how to
Right,
talk,
right.
to verbally say what they want. Now, what's interesting to me, Lou, is that at that point is when the child education has to kick up another notch.
Mm-hmm.
So 2 years later, the child is 4 and the child enters preschool.
Preschool.
Now here we go. People think a child supposed to go to school 12 years. They're supposed to go 14.
14.
Preschool, kindergarten, 8th grade of elementary school, 8 years of elementary school, and 4
Right,
years
right.
of high school. That's 14 years.
14 years.
So if a child is 18, they're supposed to have 14 years of formal education.
Okay, and that takes me to another thing.
Yeah.
With the 14 years of formal education, well, how do you see higher education going?
Well, let's go again. The prereqs is what I was going to talk about. So in 14 years, a child should be able to go into a school and follow directions, take instructions, do the work, and cooperate. 4 things a child should be able to go when they get in this building. After 14 years, when a child graduates with a certificate that says, it took me 14 years, and I can walk in any educational institution, I can follow instructions, take the information, do the work, and cooperate. And they gave me a certificate called a diploma for that. This diploma then qualifies me to go to the next level, or the next higher level of education, which is a 2-year college, we got a caller, or a 4-year college.
Yeah. Thank you. Caller, you on the air. Question or concern? Go ahead.
Yes, great show as always.
Thank you, Ray.
Listen, the gentleman next to you is...
It's Minister Banks.
Oh, yeah, okay. But he's about 95% right. Because 5% when I started school, it was kindergarten. Kindergarten through 8th grade, and then you went on for the high school. And we learned. We didn't need no preschool. That's what's wrong with people today. They want, parents, they want to get their children out as soon as they can to school, so they don't have to worry about them. That's what I'm talking. And to feed the kids too.
Mm-hmm.
That's wrong. About 10 years ago, or a little longer, we had a state lottery just for to pay educational programs that we have. Now they don't see a dime of it.
Hey, Ray.
One more quick comment.
Let me. Now stay on the line, Ray. Hey, Ray, stay there. Now, hold on a minute, Ray. Hold on.
Okay.
You cannot take the taxes of sin and educate anybody with them. The universe and God will not have it. That we're going to take something that looks like lottery or casino money or cigarette money or beer money and educate a child won't happen. Won't ever happen. That money will never make it to the educational institution because you cannot educate a child based off the principles of sin. Not going to happen.
Okay, then let me just say this. That it's our fault because we go every 4 years to vote. And who do we vote for? The same people that are doing this to our children.
Okay, well let me ask you a question, Ray. Don't leave, Ray. In the city of Chicago, February the 10th, 2017, if you go buy groceries in a store, it costs you 7 cents for a bag. That's a tax by the county we live in. Nobody has anything to say about that.
Right.
Where do you go and they tax you for a bag?
Yeah, it's amazing.
But you got to pay for the groceries. Now, what we need to be doing is boycotting Whole Foods. We need to be boycotting all the major distributors of food and let them know if you guys don't pick up the cost, we ain't coming.
Now
Because I'll be damned if you go and buy bread at a place and pay for the bag.
Yeah.
But you don't hear that, nothing is said about that. Because we don't want solutions. We want reasons to argue and go back and forth and not solve our own problems. Education gives you a tool called the mind that solves your personal and social problems. That's what we're talking about here. It's getting our children to the point where we can develop their minds. And let me give you an illustration, if I may.
Go ahead.
Let me give you an illustration.
One more quick comment.
Okay.
That's why I go to Indiana and do all my shopping. Gas, everything. Groceries. There ain't no 7-cent tax there.
Absolutely.
Gas is 40 cents cheaper a gallon. Forget about Chicago. I lived in Chicago all my life. I protected my country. I'll shop where I want to shop.
Thank you, Ray.
Hey, thanks, Ray.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. And expound on that. First of all, I think that this tax on the bags is coming from the mayor's office. As a matter of fact, the city gets 5 cents and the store gets 2 cents. And this is
a county
it's
tax.
a county tax? I thought it was on the pop.
City tax, whoever is taxing it.
Yeah.
Let me show you what I mean.
Go ahead.
Now, I ain't sure if this is true, but it sounds good. What I'm finna say, I ain't sure if this is true. Sometimes this stuff I don't know if it's true or not. But I heard and I read it that around 1775 they protested in Boston.
Oh yeah.
They call it the Boston Tea Party.
Yeah,
They call it the Boston Tea Party.
Right.
Their issue was taxation
without
representation.
Right. That's true. And they had a stamp act.
Right now, we are having taxation
without representation.
And
that's so true.
And nobody's saying anything about that.
That's what amazes me.
And when people like myself bring it up, well, I'm such a minority, because I'm the only one saying it, it sounds like I'm just angry black man. But I'm saying, no, we can't think through better solutions to solve the economic issues of our city and of our neighborhoods, which many of us live in, are dilapidated, inundated with garbage, inundated with abandoned buildings and vacant lots. But we don't have a say-so, which means we're not getting representation.
Right.
But we're paying the taxes. Something's wrong with that.
And you have all of them making $117,000 a year plus expense account that you can't even reach when you call them. And you're part of their constituency.
My point is no representation.
No representation. And it goes back to what you're saying about What are the people doing? Just laying around?
Well, it don't. But
mindless.
it's just 7 cents.
But that's just one thing.
Okay,
That's just
we
one thing.
taking a small.
Yeah.
But there's all of them are common. But we're looking at some of the smallest things.
Well, here's a question. What do you see this educational process going with CPS, which is the third largest district in the nation? Where are we headed?
We are
With a CEO.
Well, now let's go to the back to something I'm saying earlier.
Go ahead.
A person finishes high school.
Yes.
They get a bachelor's degree. This bachelor's degree, then for 4 years they learn the concept of how to make something happen. So they graduate. So you have to understand the whole systemic reality. Now, a person has been in school for 18 years, but all they have is a concept and they're in debt.
That's true.
Because it costs, because you're going to have to take out some loans or whatever you do to go to school
the books,
because you didn't do what you were supposed to do.
Right.
Now, you in debt. You got a concept of how something should happen, but you
Right.
can't make nothing happen.
Yeah, right.
How is it that a man go to school for 4 years, get a bachelor's degree in business, but have to go and ask somebody for a job?
Because he doesn't deal with entrepreneurship.
He learned a concept,
Okay, but not the
practical application
Okay, right.
of how to develop a job.
Okay.
Unless he goes to become a master in
Yes,
business.
that's true.
And then he
That's
goes to
true.
the next
MBA.
level. And this next level, he goes from concept to actually being able to put a business together. So he now learns. It's like when you go to Ford or you go to one of these car dealers. One of these car manufacturers. These people are masters at putting together cars.
Oh, yeah.
They take a whole bunch of pieces. When they get through, that assembly line is running with cars. But now the issue is that person has a master's in assembly or the putting together of something. But the problem with that is this: most of us we're just masters. We can put it together, but if it break down, we can't fix it. That's where the doctors come in. And so it's like when a car break down, you don't take it back to Ford, you take it to a mechanic.
Well, they take it to the dealership.
But they mechanics there.
right.
That's my point.
You gotta call
They don't take it to the salesman.
No, heck
That's what I'm
no.
talking
He
about.
made his money. Move on. Caller, you on the air. Question or comment? Go ahead.
Yes, and good evening.
Hey, Steve.
How you doing? This is Steve. Listen, I just want to make 2 quick comments.
Go ahead.
I hate to hear anyone say damaged kids. If you have a damaged car, you get it repaired. So a kid is never damaged. He could be repaired. Sometimes they just led the wrong way. Now let's say number 2. You were stating 14 years of school. There was a fellow that went to college. I even hate to mention his name, but he did 12 years. Matter of fact, 14 years of schooling, and could not read. And he ended up going to a professional basketball team.
Oh, I remember that. Creighton. That was that guy that Marvel Collins helped.
I hate to mention his name, but he played with New York. Let me put it that way.
Yeah.
He went to New York.
I know what you're talking about.
But anyway, it was a shame. Now, the accountability could be spread everywhere because he was a good basketball player. They just kept on passing the buck.
Yeah, as long as you can play basketball, cool.
If you can make money for people, they don't give a heck about you. So we have to learn as people to have a little respect. And why I like that man, he went to Georgetown. Now, I hope y'all trying to figure it out now. Patrick, let me just say that, the first name.
Patrick Ewing.
Yes.
Wow.
I think you felt signs all out at the game. Monkey, you can't read and woo. But listen, that man went to play professional basketball and went back to school. Now he's a very successful person. So sometimes, as we know, some people get it quicker, some get it slowly, and for the ones who don't ever get it, they just walking dead. They don't even know they're dead. They don't have no goals or anything in their life. But again, damage is not in my vocabulary with children. sometimes they don't get it at home. But even to that person where we just talk about it, he didn't get it at home, or he did not get it in school. So sometimes we have to tighten up things. I'm not trying to knock anything. And I'm so glad to see your guy with you. He has a good show too.
Oh, yes.
He tells the truth. But
Yes.
let me get out the air so I can hear your.
Thank you, Steve.
I'm taking the call, guys. All right.
Minister, what's your comments on that?
Well, I disagree.
Go ahead.
A young man grows up, is born to a mother who's addicted to drugs. He's damaged.
True.
He does not have 100% of a chance to make his own
Right,
decisions.
because it's a precondition.
A child is born into abject poverty.
Right.
He's damaged. A child is born where he's sexually abused. He's damaged. See, we have to not play crazy about some of this stuff. This stuff is damaging our children. And I'll give you a better analogy. There was a doctor that created a child, went into the laboratory and created a child, gave the child electric shock therapies, gave the child everything that the child needed to grow and be this big, burgeoning man. When the child looked at itself and found out what the parent did to it, it turned on the parent.
Sounds like Frankenstein.
Frankenstein.
Go ahead.
That's Frankenstein. So when Frankenstein saw what Dr. Frankenstein did,
right.
it turned on him.
Yeah.
When a lot of our children are coming to grips with what their parents did to
yeah.
them,
Oh, yes.
they're turning on them.
They turn on them,
That's
yeah.
called damage, man.
Right,
We
right.
can't play crazy about that.
A lot of people say disrespect.
So the child grow up,
Right.
and the child takes over the home.
Yeah.
The mother is so full of shame and guilt, she allows it to happen
right.
because she knew what she did at conception.
So where's the father at?
Gone
Gone.
or not involved.
Not involved.
Because he may have gotten damaged in the situation as well.
You think it's a trickle down effect?
No, man, it is just people just telling the truth. If you ain't capable of the development of a child, because that's something called child development, it ain't just a school class in school.
Right.
It is something that needs to happen between two people where they're discussing the development of a child prior to it getting here.
Right. That's true.
Come on, man, we need to. But we can't continue to sit up and sound good and make all these sound bites when we just deal with the reality. Because if two people deal with the reality, they can fix it.
That's true.
I don't know what's wrong with him.
Yeah, right. United we stand, divided we fall.
No, we know what was wrong.
Yeah.
We did not have what we needed to develop you.
True.
And we need to tell you the truth about that. And you need to understand that you need us now to allow us to help develop you before you get too old.
Now, before we close, what direction do you think we're headed in, and what are some of the comments that we can take, come from this meeting with, and try and do a better job with our society, with our children?
Well, we know that education works, right?
Yes.
And we know that
I firmly
education
believe that.
produces. Well, education need to become great again.
Okay. That sounds like Trump.
Education need to become great again. Mm-hmm. We were the leading country in the world.
That's true.
When it came to putting out and producing scholars,
Yes.
producing scientists, producing men of integrity, producing people of principle and high moral standard and fabrics. That's what we led on. Well, that don't have to go away, but it was something that was the underpinning of it, and it was a belief that education could change your situation.
That's true.
Nobody believes that
You're a better
anymore.
person, monetarily and morally. Supposedly.
Well, people don't believe that education can still do that, so they don't push for it to the degree they should push for it. But I guarantee you one thing: wake up in America with none and see where you at.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Keep waking up in this country uneducated.
I need you to, before we close, just give us one solid soundbite.
Well, if I could say something as we wrapping up, if I could say something to the viewing audience, I would tell you this: it's not as bad as it looks, and it's not as good as it's gonna be. I believe that we are in a time of vast change, but also we're in a time of unity where we're gonna have to come together because we're not gonna have no choice.
Yes, and thank you, Minister Banks.
Yeah.
Thank you, audience. By the way, if you feel as though you run out of rope, tie a knot and hang on. Everything's going to be okay. See you next week.
Absolutely.